Men and women in the room, can I have a warm welcome for Vreneli Stadelmaier.
When I was 7 years old, I had to knit a doll at school. And boys had to play football, and I wanted to play football too. But I wasn't allowed because I was a girl. So I was furious, and my parents were furious too, so they went to school to talk about it. And from that moment on, girls were allowed to choose. The boys not though. Imagine a boy knitting a doll. I had 2 younger brothers. And at that time I was in almost everything better than my brothers were. And my father sometimes said to me, "What a pity you're not a boy." And that was the first time I heard a voice in my head saying, being female, doing female things like ballet or knitting dolls is inferior. And that made me feel uncertain. So I decided to be tough. I was good at sports, I was good at science subjects, and the feminist girl inside of me was fully awake. And I was very ambitious. Yes, I wanted to become Pope. Whoa! I thought a woman as Pope, that's a miracle, that's good for the world. So I started to study business administration. Because I thought, well, if I become Pope, then at least I know how to run such a company. And in the unlikely event it doesn't happen, well, then I will be CEO of another large multinational like Shell or something like that, and then I save the world that way. So after graduation, I started to work, and after a few years I became managing director of a large healthcare company. And I also got married, had a baby, and the pressure was rising. I felt totally responsible for everything in the house and the baby. And when the baby was ill, I left the management meeting. Later on, I found out why that happened to me. Back then, I put everything I find important in the center of my attention, and I circle around it. And I found also that men do exactly the opposite. They put themselves in the center of the attention and let everything they find important circle around it. I call that the master of the universe principle. And my husband was such a master of the universe. He did nothing at home. And I didn't let it happen. I made it happen. Because it fit exactly in the pattern that we've known for centuries. The man works and the woman serves and cares. So in the meantime, I ended up in a conflict at work. We were in a major reorganization and people were laid off. And our board of directors was reduced from 4 till 3. And I was one of the 3. And then my 2 colleagues, men, thought it might be a good idea to divide the salary of director number 4 amongst the 3 of us. And that disgusted me. I thought, it's taxpayers' money. It's meant for care for patients. People have to go home, had to leave. And we are going to raise our salary by 30%. Incredible. I couldn't agree. And then both gentlemen got very angry. And then I thought, I'm not good enough. They will find out that I'm not that perfect as they think I am. And I felt like a fraud, the wrong person in the wrong position, and I resigned. So, later I found out these voices have a name. the imposter syndrome, the fear of being found out. You know you're good enough. You have external proof that you are good enough, that you are fit for the job. And still you are afraid that they will find out. And we know famous people like Albert Einstein and Neil Armstrong, Sheryl Sandberg, CEO of Facebook, and even Meryl Streep suffer from those imposter thoughts. Every time Meryl Streep wins an award, she is afraid for the phone call saying, "Sorry Meryl, we made a huge mistake, but you're a lousy actress. Please bring it back." And we know by American research that everybody has those thoughts. But 1/3 of men and 2/3 of women are hindered in their career by these thoughts. Especially talented, successful women are hindered in this by these thoughts. And the reason for this is testosterone. Women have only 10% of the testosterone of men. And you need testosterone for drive, for taking risks, for taking decisions, for focus, for sex drive, and also for to have courage. And you need testosterone to have the courage that if you have those thoughts and you feel insecure or are afraid, not to listen to these thoughts. And that's why men in general are less hindered by those imposter thoughts than women are. So if you have those thoughts, isn't it working, you think? Okay, thank you very much. Oh yeah, if you have these thoughts causes stress. And the reaction to stress is fight or flight. Okay, fight looks like this. Whoops. Okay, I don't know why it's not standing, but okay. Okay, let it collapse. All right. It's no good anyway. Because fighting, it's 24/7 hard work. It's perfectionism. It's setting the bar very high. And a mistake is a disaster because it's the proof that you can't do it. Flight looks like this. Yes, exactly the same. I'll show you. Yeah? Proof? Okay. So, these pictures are exactly the same. And that's because these are internal processes. You can't see it from the outside. And I took pictures of myself because it's also about me. Okay, flight. Flight is making yourself small, making yourself invisible. It's about dismissing compliments. When I say, "What a nice dress," you say, "Oh, it was very cheap." Or if I say, "You did a good job," then you say, "Oh, it wasn't that hard." It's about making yourself invisible. It's about avoiding success, and it's about avoiding conflicts. So I resigned, and I was at home, feeling like a failure. And that was the best situation for creating a huge imposter syndrome. So I was very happy when my husband started his own company. And I could play a supporting role there. So I did the back office, he did the front office. I took care of the kids, he did new business. And in his midlife, with new women. So, we divided our belongings. He took the company and I took the house and the kids, of course. And there I was, sitting at home with 3 little children to care for, a house, a mortgage, and no work and no income. And I thought, what did I do wrong? How did I become so dependent on my husband? What has happened to my ambition? And I started to delve in it. What happens to women when they start to work? What happens when they start to have a family? And what problems do they run into? I wanted to make sure that women do better than I did. That women keep their ambition, stay happily at work, and never become dependent on somebody else. And I also want to make sure that my daughter does never such stupid things as I've done. Let her do her own stupid things. And by the way, she does, wholeheartedly. She studies here in Delft. So I made my own profession of it. And I started my own company 10 years ago, and we help women to live their full potential, to keep their ambition, and to have the career they want. And after a few years of study and research and experience, I found that the imposter syndrome hinders women in their career. And I wrote a book about it. In Dutch it's called Fuck die onzekerheid, but I don't in English it's called different because the F word is too rude. So in English it's called Sure She Can and Yes We Can. Yes we can. The fear of being found out makes us small, makes us invisible, leads us to the wrong decisions. Fight or flight. The fear of being found out is caused by voices from the past, by wisdom from the past. Like, for example, you're not good enough, you're going to be found out, you're too lazy. And our culture provides voices too. For women, for example, be caring, be modest, be nice, be in the background. And for men, be tough, be brave. Take risks, don't cry, earn a lot of money, just do it. And I call those voices parrots on your shoulder. And those parrots help men in their career, but they hinder men in caring behavior, in caring tasks, in cautious behavior, and in, for example, asking for directions. But they help them in their career. They just do it. And for women, it works exactly the opposite around. It keeps women small. It keeps women invisible. It keeps women in the background. And let them lose their ambition. And if we decide not to listen to those parrots anymore, you can do whatever you want to do. And you can use your talents in society, everywhere in society, even there or especially there where the big decisions are made. And if we take those decisions together, men and women, I think we get better decisions, more creative decisions, and in the end, I think, a better world. And that's what I want for my daughter. And that's what I want for all our daughters and sons in the world. So, how do we get rid of those parrots? Okay, I've got 3 tips. Tip number 1. Notice that you have a parrot on your shoulder, that he's lying, and that you are not your parrot. Tip number 2, give your parrot a name, based on where he comes from and what he wants. And if he has a name, tip number 3 is more easy to do. Chase him away. Now, I can imagine that sometimes in difficult situations, you need a little bit more testosterone. So, for example, if you have to do a TED Talk. So, I've developed a quick fix based on the work of Harvard professor Amy Cuddy and the haka of the Maori in New Zealand. And yeah, exactly, it's called the Bokito. So it works like this. You go to some place quiet, like the bathroom, and you make sure there's no one else around. That's quite essential. And then you do this. Let's do an experiment. Yeah. Let's see if we can chase all the parrots away. Please join me and stand up. Okay, everybody standing? Yes? On 3, we do the Bokito. 1, 2, 3. Thank you! Let's end the imposter syndrome today. You have already started. Thank you.